The Bite Me podcast is coming right up, and it is brought to you every week right here on YouTube by Freedom Boats. It is the best shallow running boat on the water, and there is a model perfect for you. The Chiquita 14, the Eagle 16, the Patriot 18, the Commander 21, the beautiful Warrior like I have 23, or the big boy that runs so shallow, the General 26. Chet Moore and Pooty can customize it however you'd like, and there's a dealer near you, whether it's the Boatyard in Kemah or dealerships in San Antonio, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Port O'Connor, Houston, and Aransas Pass. Freedom Boats or freedomboatsusa.com. All right, here we go. Welcome into the Bite Me podcast. And I always promise this, and it tends to always deliver lively, fun podcast today. A lot to cover. Our guys are all present and accounted for. First time for everything. Captain Scott was the last one to log in this week. I think that's the first time in however many 6 years we've been doing this, but he's got a good excuse, I'm sure. He's been taking pictures of incredible animals and wildlife and everything else happening out there. Let's get started with the podcast. You know where we're going with this because I am sitting in front of the three greatest fishing charter captains you're ever going to meet.
Well, now
right
that guy's gone. Now that he's gone.
right in front of me. The three greatest. Go ahead, Dean.
We were 2, 3, and 4 until last week.
That's right. And we won't talk about who was 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, so they're sitting right in front of me. Going to be a fun, lively podcast, of course. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Start at Podbean. That is going to be something that you're going to want to do because you can get every podcast we've ever done. Somebody calling themselves Brock Horner is live with us on YouTube. So Brock, you may want to cover your ears a little bit. I'm sure you've been doing a lot of that. And then, of course, don't forget the Bite Me group page, which we had a bunch of people joining the Bite Me group page this week. I think it had something to do with the news that's been happening. But let's dig in. And first, I'm going to say this because I'm always looking around. If there's anything happening here right before we go live on YouTube, don't forget we'll drop this podcast and have it posted wherever you get your podcast by about 6 p.m. tonight. So Scott, I wanted to start with you on this. This is not on the rundown. I'm just going through my usual pages that I look at, and I came across a meteorologist from Washington State, and he posted that in the last 50 years, this year is officially the windiest in the history of the United States. And I'm like, well, I've heard about the hottest. I've heard about the coldest. I've never heard the windiest. He says they've been tracking it for 50 years, and who knows before that. But this is officially the windiest spring that we've had.
Okay, we'll roll with it.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, hell, I don't know.
Dean saying no.
Feels pretty windy.
Maybe to the rest of the country, it's been a little extra breezy. But whoever that dude is, he hadn't spent much time in South Texas in March and April, man. And
yeah,
I've seen, I don't know, I guess on the
whole,
on the global scale, maybe, but it's been a mediocre spring down here.
Yeah. All right, let's dig in. The topic we know, and I've got at least 3, 6, 9 little follow-ups that I want to talk to you guys about. I think there's a lot that our listeners can get out of this. We appreciate you listening. But I'm going to start with Caleb. So this thing, I think I saw it the morning after he posted it. The kid's name, I think, is Gage Tolles or something like that. So anybody who's listening to this podcast probably knows the story, so I'll be very quick. Fishing charter captain, the greatest fishing charter captain that you'll ever meet, went off on him. We all have seen the video. It's on the group page. If you go to the group page and sign up there. Initial thoughts, like just the first things that were racing through your mind, Caleb.
Well, the first thing I thought was that kid, that was the wrong dude to say what you want to do to, apparently. The kid is not completely the victim in that situation. He was kind of mouthy and got old boy going. Now, old boy should have chilled out a little bit. And while old Gage is wanting to be mouthy to him, he probably should have thought, I'm probably going to see this dude tomorrow too. That's what I got to tell myself a lot. But I mean, if the dude wants to say his piece, say your piece and move on. Stepping onto somebody's boat is quite the big deal, as is blasting underneath a bridge with a big wake with people fishing. That is also a big deal. Now, that being said, I'll say what nobody else on the internet has said, because I've had to deal with some gauges
Mm-hmm.
in the past. Sometimes I see where old Brock's coming from.
Mm-hmm. How so?
I, I felt like boarding some boats and dropping some effort. Now, I don't know if I'd have went. I don't know if I'd have went to
one thing that hasn't been really discussed, and Scott has spent enough time over there to know, the Florida fishing guide culture is very different. They take their hostility as a badge of honor. They are more willing to have that kind of behavior. They pull guns on each other. And I've seen guides display their guns as they're getting on and off the boat. It is a part of their Billy Badass. I'm the most amazing. I'm the biggest. I don't know, what do you call yourself? The greatest in the world.
The greatest fishing charter captain you'll ever meet.
And willing to throw down. There's just even the guides take it as, I mean, they have reputations for being rude to their clients on the boat. I mean, I have heard this repeatedly. Somehow the culture in Florida with fishing guides is just different than the culture in Texas. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know why, but it is just that way. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of Brocks out there. This is not a unique individual. This takes place. And if you would have seen the culture of fishing guides, even here in Aransas Pass 20 years ago, I saw many fights at the boat ramp. I saw plenty of confrontations that really, I don't know. I guess everybody's armed nowadays and everybody's willing to back off a little bit and not go to that level. But there were a lot more. I had a knife pulled on me one day, and I don't know if I've told that story. I happened to have a deputy sheriff on the boat with me that day. We were running down the sailboat channel. The dude thought I ran over him going in. We fished, not very long. Nothing was happening. Turned around, came back out. And I mean, I'm running up on step, moved over to the other side of the channel. The dude was personally offended, even though it's the same thing that happens every day. He cranks up his boat. He comes charging at me and pulled right up to my boat, just like that incident happened. And he brandished a fillet knife. But by pure luck, I had a deputy sheriff on my boat, and he calmed the situation down. Everybody went away, and it ended right there. But
so
I mean, it's not a unique thing. The unique thing about this one, there was a camera rolling.
The GoPro is a more powerful weapon than carrying a gun on that particular instance.
Absolutely.
But dude, you can't get on somebody else's boat. You step on somebody else's boat, it's a bad deal altogether. The kid didn't do anything to diffuse it. The guy lost his mind. But let's look at it from this angle. If old Brock hadn't have said, "I'm the best fishing guide in the world. I fish 300 days a year. I'm an Army Ranger." If it had just been chewing him out for, whatever they did or didn't do, because it sounded to me like at first the kid wasn't guilty, and then it's like, well, yeah, it was my friend was on my boat, and yeah, he cussed you when you came through here, whatever. But if there hadn't been all the big claims, would it be as big of blown up as it is?
All right, so that's perfect, Scott. I want to get to you on both those points that they made, because I think they're interesting, but I also think you can take the other side if you choose, and that is Gage, the kid. Obviously, he might not have been crystal clean.
That dude's 22 years old. He ain't a kid.
Yeah. Well, I call everybody a kid. I call you a kid,
but he kept going, "I'm a kid," and all this stuff posted on social media was like, a guide attacks child in boat.
No, you're right. You're absolutely
he was
right.
He was a mouthy 22-year-old that got called on his mouth.
But here's the thing I want Scott, especially with your background, Scott, in law enforcement, to weigh in on. Number one, Caleb's point on this young man, whatever you want to call him, maybe have been a little mouthy. A lot of guys are mouthy on the boat. I'm mouthy on the boat. Sometimes I just say it to myself, and that doesn't, necessarily. And the second part of that is old Brock did come up to him and whether it was just verbally or whatever, kind of challenge him. And then the second thing to what to what Dean said, yeah, you can comment on the Florida culture of guides and all that, but that doesn't make it right,
No, it doesn't make any of it right. My biggest thing on that guy, I've dealt with people like that. When I was in law enforcement, I dealt with them. That guy was unhinged, man. I mean, you can watch that video and see the clips and whatever. That dude ain't right. There's there's a screw loose in there. You can't get to the point where that one little section of it where he's just standing there stomping like a 2-year-old. He's got his arms in front of him and he's got his little fists going and he's just stomping. I mean, wow. I mean, I've been pretty mad a lot over the years, and I don't think I ever been where I just lost it like that.
Never.
Stomping and yelling and screaming like a little 2-year-old. The biggest thing is he pulled his boat over there and got on the kid's boat or the young man's boat to make Caleb happy.
Oh no, you can say kid all you want. I'm just clearing up that this wasn't a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. And if you listen close in the thing, like Caleb said, he denied everything in the beginning. Then he took a little culpability. Then he took a little more, and then he put it on his buddy. Yeah, it was my buddy that was on the boat. That's fine. I mean, it can be whatever. We can have arguments. I've been in arguments. We've all been in arguments. You can't take it to that next level. You can't come over there and start getting in the kid's face and then get on his boat. And he drove the boat over there to get into a physical confrontation. The kid didn't approach him. The kid was like, "Hey man, just leave. I just want to fish." He said that a couple of times in the beginning. It was stupid all the way around. And arguments out on the boats and on the water are pretty stupid for the most part. I see it all the time. Just like Dean said, I've seen a million of those. I've had a couple of guys get on me back at the ramp. A couple of guys who were friends of mine, jump me back at the ramp and start yelling about I was in their area. I didn't see any signs, but there wasn't no street signs. But now there's something basically wrong with that fishing guide. I mean, he's got problems.
Well, his rap sheet backs that up. I mean, his rap sheet's pretty incredible. There was because Mike and I went digging a little bit because that's just what we do, and Mike has the clearance to do it. The dude was not a Ranger, however, he was attached to I think 43 Bravo, which is a Ranger crew, and he did. And there was a stuff on social media that he was just an HR guy. He did have 3 combat deployments and PTSD listed on his military stuff that the right people can look at. So that it's not an excuse, but at the end of the day, you can't step on somebody's boat. You can cuss them pretty freely, but you step on their boat and that's a problem. And why that kid didn't punch the throttle and dump him when he got on it, I don't know.
That was my first thought. As he was getting on the boat, I was thinking he's fixing to punch the throttle and this guy's going in the water. And then he didn't.
Yeah.
Then he got to the front of the boat and he's standing in the front of the boat. I'm like, just throw it in reverse, dude.
Dude, I'm very experienced at slinging people off a boat with the trolling motor.
Yeah.
Got him. See ya.
It happens quick. It's easy.
Yeah. So Dean, he was hit with felony burglary charges, but the investigation is not over. U.S. Coast Guard and Florida Fish and Game are investigating as well. My question for you, I'm going to get to what could happen with Scott because of his background. My question for you is, how the hell did this guy get a license?
Man, somebody wasn't doing their job. I mean, it's just he should not have had a license, or if he lied that good. And
who says he did? Who says he did have a guy's license?
And that's another question. Did he have a current license? Was it revoked and he's just still out there running around, as if? We don't know that yet. I don't know if it'll be made public.
I haven't dug too far off in it because I have a relatively clean record. But, going through doing the TWIC card that we had to do and all the background stuff, it seems like if you aren't convicted of some sort of like a homeland security or a smuggling, something like that, they're pretty lenient on everything else. I mean, one of the questions said, have you been convicted of murder? which I'm like, oh, that's probably. And then it says, and if so, was it in the last 3 years?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I think I think to get a Coast Guard license to run a boat, I mean, let's face it, most people on them boats ain't the squeakiest clean dudes. And not just I could be wrong, but judging by the people I went to captain school with and the people that I see up at I just had to go redo all my stuff here recently. The people I see up there, it ain't just the guy that drives the boat that has to have the merchant mariner credential. You can get an MMC for being a cook. You can get an MMC for all kinds of stuff on the boat. So I think that they're not overly strict on any past convictions. Now the dude I think he had assault on there. He had some real stuff on there, but I don't think that's stuff that keeps you from getting an MMC.
If you've had, so you renew every 5 years. Within that 5 years, they're going to ask you, have you convicted of a felony? Have you had a DUI? All of those things. And if you have to, it's reported, and then you can get a waiver, but it's not easy. I mean, you have to go through a lot of steps. If it is detected, if it is found, if they didn't research it, if he said, no, man, I didn't do anything for 5 years, nobody researched it, then nobody knows. Boom, here's your license. Have a good 5 years. Come back and see us. But no, if any of those things would have popped up, he should not have had a license unless he went through some very extensive steps to get those waivers and get his license back.
And to clear up what Dean's saying, when I had to fill out my stuff, it says, have you been convicted of this? It only counts for since the last time you got a license. So if he made it through the first time, he never has to answer yes again. It has this happened in the last 5 years, 5 years.
And I mean, he had it in every 5 years.
Yeah. If you looked at the report, he did. All right, Scott. So back to your old job. What could happen here? I mentioned U.S. Coast Guard investigating, Fish and Game investigating, and obviously the felony burglary. From I think it was the county police. What could happen here with him?
Generally, the higher ones like Coast Guard, they're going to defer and they had big meetings about this. I guarantee there was a whole lot of meeting going on before they filed these charges. The DA's office, probably a federal prosecutor, the Coast Guard, the state, they all went and looked at it, and nobody else really wanted it, would be my guess, is those higher ones, the Coast Guard and the county and the state went, county can handle this, and let the county do it, or the city or the county, or
but the county does not regulate his Coast Guard license. The Coast Guard is going to deal with his Coast Guard license.
Right. That will happen later, but that's not criminal. On the criminal side,
do you think, Scott? Do you think there's any chance he loses his MMC?
Absolutely.
Hell, I'll tell you, there's a great chance he loses.
Oh yeah, it would be.
But on what grounds?
It's not always about the law and all that. It's about black eyes. Sometimes, if that hadn't been on video and it hadn't gone viral and it hadn't done any of that, they got a report of this happening, and it was, they had witnesses. Yeah, he got charged. Okay. The public didn't really know about it, and the Coast Guard might give him a waiver. They're not giving him a waiver on this one.
Yeah,
it ain't gonna happen. That's a felony charge. They're not going to give him a waiver off of that felony charge. They're going to revoke his license, or at least suspend it. I'm sure it's already suspended. And then they'll find a reason not to allow him to have a license, because let him have the license. Say this all blows over and say, he hadn't done anything bad on the boat in the past, or whatever. Yeah, let him keep his license. Then the next incident happens and he pulls a gun and shoots somebody.
Yeah.
Then that's a huge black eye on the Coast Guard. Oh, y'all gave him his license back? That's what's going to get him worse than anything.
Well, here's the other thing for Caleb and Dean. It's not just the video, as Scott alluded to. They were interviewing people, including people on his boat, which also means they were getting did he run through that bridge, at full throttle or larger throttle? Has he done this before? What exactly did you see? One boat with the lights apparently on, one without, and he still ran through. So that's where I'm going with this. Like, it's not just that. It's not just the PR hit that they're going to take. It's like it's not just video. I mean, they talked to these guys, and they got it out of them.
Yeah, he's unsafe operating of the boat as a licensed captain. Yeah, he can get hit with that too.
But if they didn't witness that, if law enforcement didn't witness the infraction, and you're just going on a complaint, it's going to be much more difficult to get an official.
They interviewed all the guys on his boat, and apparently those guys rolled up.
Well,
and things were said that implicated it on the video.
But I don't think those guys were on that boat in the morning when that took place. Supposedly he went back in, picked those dudes up. They were going out in the afternoon and spotted this guy later in the day, and then followed up on that. But that's hearsay on my part.
Well, he said it himself. I almost hit you. You don't almost hit somebody whenever you're not throwing a weight.
Right. Yeah.
Like all the stuff that's brought up. I mean, even, hey, somebody on your boat cussed me. I almost hit you. It was all said.
Yeah. And dude may end up in court with a lawyer in front of a judge. Yeah. And I'm sure Scott knows more about that.
Well, the other thing that's funny to me and peculiar, those were his buddies. That wasn't those weren't clients. Those were buddies. I guess one of them was doing some social media. One was a cameraman, whatever. And Scott, if they're his friends, they've seen him go off before. Anytime somebody commits a crime, and this, I'm preaching to the choir. That wasn't when they get caught. I guarantee you that wasn't their first time they did that.
This wasn't a one-off deal. And you could tell by his buddies it wasn't a one-off deal because they all just
sitting there like nothing. And there goes Brock again.
And one dude just turned his back to the whole thing and just sat on the edge of the boat and just turned his back to it.
And that one of the dudes tried to distance himself from the whole thing, and he said, "This is the first time I've ever been on that boat." I was and then they actually the Facebook detectives come out in force, and they go search, and he was spotted on the boat on the previous date. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would love to be in the courtroom for all of the cross-examination.
Well, go ahead, Caleb.
What a way to grow your YouTube channel, though. Damn.
He canceled it.
Yeah. No, the kid.
Oh yeah, the kid. Yeah, the Gage is fine. I saw this. I don't know if you saw this. He had at last check a couple of days ago, 400 people contact him about wanting them to take him to take them fishing. So he should get his license.
He may become the greatest fishing captain ever.
He might.
I would start a charter company, call it Greatest Fishing Captain Ever, and just ride it. I would hawk to a girl this thing until it was dead.
Yes. And then the other thing, and this one line kind of stood out to me, Dean, because apparently on the report, now this is a police report after investigations and everything else, it was reported that he came within 5 feet of one boat and 10 feet of another boat at a, quote, high rate of speed. Now, that's in the police report. So that right there, that ain't the first time he's done that either. I mean, this is one of those where it's just ridiculous.
And I don't know, Scott, if it's in the police report and it does go to court in front of the judge, how much weight does that police report have in court?
It depends on the witnesses. They'll have the witnesses in.
And he's gone. Hey, man, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I watch Judge Judy a lot. And a lot of those things aren't as admissible as others.
No, you're right. So now this is going to be silly because the guy's going to lose his license. And certainly it's not going to happen again with him, but there's also something instructional here, in terms of knowing these bridges, knowing that. Dean, I'm gonna start with you because you fished in Florida. Just how 5 feet and 10 feet of other boats, just how dangerous and unique is that?
That is ridiculously dangerous. I mean, people will die if you're 5 feet in the other direction, or if somebody makes a sudden move and you're coming in at full speed, you can't maneuver that if it's going wrong. But this incident has definitely set an example for the rest of the world out there. The next time you try, and I mean, this might be one of the most unfortunate things for Brock, but very fortunate for the rest of the boating community, that when you want to pull something like that in this day and age, there's going to be a camera on your ass. There is going to be a video. The first thing, and man, if you're around other people and voices get raised and there's a confrontation, boom, everybody's going for their phone, man. We are going to video this, and it's going to be on the internet before they sit down, before it's over. It's going to be on the internet. So let that be an example for everybody out there. You know, if you don't want to become famous, insta-famous,
infamous,
for the wrong reason.
I've been meaning to get footage from a certain boat ramp in Rockport since the Bite Me incident.
Yeah.
Hey, I wonder if since Brock can't be a captain no more, if Salt Strong might be looking for a new coach there in Florida.
Ouch! Shots fired.
The greatest coach ever.
And so, for entertainment purposes, the Con Brown Harbor has a live webcam that goes 24/7. That if anything takes place, I mean, you're on video.
Well, okay. So, Scott, I do want to get back to you on what you were talking about right before it cut out.
Okay.
Admissible in court.
Oh, did it?
Police reports.
Yeah.
It's all about how credible the witnesses are. And if that kid gets up there and starts talking, a jury's not going to want to listen to bro.
Yeah, no bros, bro.
They're gonna have
no bros.
But based on the police report, and if all that's in there, then they found who the other boat was, and they interviewed that other boat as well. And old Brock probably did have a charter that morning. That's why he was in a hurry, and he probably had people on that charter, and they probably went and interviewed them. This was a big deal, man. I mean, it went all over the damn country and all over the world, and I'm telling you, the Coast Guard does not want egg on their face over this. They want to do a thorough, complete investigation. They are crawling up there with a microscope, and they're talking to everybody, and they're gonna get everybody's statement, and it's all sworn statements. It's all affidavit statements, and then they're gonna get into court and put those people on the stand if it goes that far.
He'll take a plea deal. He'll take a plea deal.
Yeah, this ain't going that far, folks. That's why they charged him with what they charged him with. They charged him the highest crime that they could get. He's going to plead down, and then it's all going to go away.
Yeah, and I looked up burglary in Florida, and that is the most vague crime that could possibly be.
Yeah, it's a catch-all.
I was looking for criminal trespass, something like that, and they said burglary. I had to go nerd it up a little bit. Yeah. But burglary is just like going somewhere to do harm. I mean, it's very vague.
And isn't that, Scott, how is that not assault? Or is it assault?
Didn't touch him.
That's what I would have gone with. But in order to do the assault, it would have.
No, he grabbed his shirt. He did grab his shirt. That's in the report too. I read.
Did he?
He grabbed his shirt.
As soon as he got on, he grabbed his shirt.
Well, the assault's in there. It's burglary with assault. It's a thing.
Okay. Yeah. So it's the burglary thing I didn't get. I was thinking more of a criminal trespass. That's probably what it would have been in Texas. But every state has their own laws, and they're all written different. And that's why you go to school.
I want to get real quick all y'all's opinion on, again, for our listeners' purposes, some dummy is going to do that to one of our listeners or to one of us. And they've done it to all of us. What is the best way that you would do when it gets to that extreme? It's hard to control yourself. Now, Caleb, I'm going to start with you because you said he wasn't exactly Mr. Innocent, Gage. But I thought he tried to diffuse it, quickly. Maybe he was just worried about his own health, but that's fine. He still tried to diffuse it, and et cetera. But what would you do? Somebody came at you like that.
Well, I mean,
I know what Dean would do.
I got an easy answer.
a choke slam over the nose of a trailer works pretty well.
Oh my gosh, here we go again.
But Camille says we can't talk about it. Man, see that to me, it's a catch-22 with it. Like do you let the dude get on your boat? I mean, probably not. But then you're gonna have to deal with him eventually. You're gonna have to deal with him in a boat ramp. And I'm kind of a rip the band-aid off right now type of fella.
Mhm.
The kid
I'm gonna choke his ass on 2-stroke fumes because I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm out of
when
there.
he stepped on the boat, I think I sent him for a drink, but you're gonna have to deal with him again later.
We wouldn't even had a conversation, man. I would have been like, I'm out.
That's actually the best way to do it. Like just this.
But that is from years of experience.
Mhm.
That is from being, you semi-offend somebody because they think you run too close to them. Man, if you stop, it can easily escalate to the next level of confrontation.
Mhm.
I'm gone, man. I'm not gonna give anybody a chance to do that unless they really pursue me. And
He's
then
gonna chase you till you stop. That guy was going to
that
chase
guy was
you.
that guy was gonna chase him.
Oh, dude, I got chased by an airboat one day, but he wasn't fast. Actually, I antagonized this dude a little bit.
No kidding.
This dude on this airboat, he chased me from BNR Flats all the way to Corpus Christi Bay. And I took him out in the deep water. I was like, okay, let's see how far this dude is willing to take me.
He's bouncing around on the deep water.
So I took him in deep water because I knew the airboat wasn't going to perform out there to that level. And so I went all the way to the point of Ingleside, and then I turned into Ransom Flat or Dagger Flats first. And I turned in, and I was just zigzagging through some islands, and I was like, well, let's see who runs out of gas first. And and then eventually I did a couple of zigs, and he didn't zag, and I got behind some islands and lost him. But it was entertaining. I mean, I even would slow down a little bit and let him catch up on me, and then I'd take off again.
You're teasing him.
He was as irate as Brock. This dude.
What happened? Now we got to know what happened.
Okay, so I was coming under the bridge from the Lighthouse Lakeside, under the bridge at BNR, and I was coming down the channel that parallels right there. There was a barge, some kind of a work boat in there, and the airboat was, I don't know if he was working with him, but he was up against the barge. And when I came through there, and I mean, I got a flat bottom tunnel hull. When my boat is up on step, it doesn't make a wake. I mean, it does not make a wave. But as I'm coming around the corner and I'm at full speed and I move over and I'm just going to run through there, the dude starts like flagging me to slow down. He's giving me this slow down sign. And I ran plenty of distance. I mean, not unsafe by any means where I was within any kind of danger zone. Move over to the other side. And man, this dude just shoves off, cranks it up. And I was like, man, what is this guy doing? And then I took a left in the sailboat channel, and then, boo, here he comes. And I was like, man, and he was screaming and yelling. And I was like, all right, that's when I said, let's see how far this dude's willing to take it. And then I went all the way, man, from the bridge to the other end of BNR. Man, it's
take him to the surf.
4 miles. I was going out, and then so from there I just jumped across the sandbar straight across the Corpus Christi ship channel to Corpus Christi Bay, around the Spoil Islands, around Ingleside to Dagger, and then I lost him at Ransom Flats, and I was like, shit, I'm home now. So I'm
gonna go get a sandwich.
Yes, but that's my technique to avoid confrontation.
All right, so Scott, go ahead.
I'm fairly calculated. Believe it or not, my mouth, I've had to defend myself a time or two.
Get out.
And most every time I've had a plan before it happened. And the real key is when Brock had 1 foot in his boat and 1 foot in that kid's boat, that's when you meet him and put him back in his boat. And them other dudes in that boat had no intentions of backing him up. They wanted this to be done.
Yeah.
But when he's off balance right there, you better catch him there. Don't let him take that extra step. But you better catch him there and something hard if you got it.
So what's your best story, like Dean's?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Camille said we can't talk
Yeah,
about
he
it.
can't tell it.
No, not that one. Anything but that one. I mean, there are others.
The last time I actually got my ass kicked, I was like 13 years old. I can tell that one. My dad had given me this
Were you
pump
on
me
a
up
boat?
speech about no. My dad had given me this pump me up speech about, son, you got to be a man and don't take nothing off of nobody. And so like, all right, yeah, cool, Dad, I'm down. And we were at this rodeo, and my dad he's about 15 yards away, and I'll never forget it. He's leaning up against the truck, sipping a little thing of milk, little cardboard thing of milk.
Mm-hmm.
And me and this kid were sitting there. We were roping a dummy at a rodeo. And I decided to get mouthy because this kid irritated me, and I wasn't going to take nothing off nobody, just like my dad said. And if this goes wrong, my dad's right there to back me up. And as I was on my back getting my ass beat, I looked over, and my dad's still sipping the milk, just watching it. Some lady came by and broke it up and chewed my dad for letting these two boys fight. And it wasn't much of a fight. I was getting the hell beat out of me, and my dad just drinking the milk. Like, hey, also, son, that's another life lesson, too. Don't start something you can't finish.
Yeah.
There's my story.
All right. So
My dad,
ahead.
a short story, but yeah, I came home all beat up one day and looking for sympathy from my dad. And that's what he told me. He's like, if you're going to be out there playing that game, don't come home crying to me. And
Yeah. All right. So now it's time for the voice of reason.
those are good daddies.
I think it's the voice of reason with Scott, because I know, like, people, when they see you out on the boat and they get mad at you, Scott, they don't know that you have a badge. And I'm curious on your story similar to that. And then this all started with how to handle the confrontation for some reason. So I'll leave it to you on that.
I really haven't had any issues on the water.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I mean,
He's Mr. Nice Guy.
I'm much nice. I yelled at one guy, and he flat deserved it, and he knew it, and he ducked his head, and he's another guide, and he damn near ran into me, and we were close enough to board, and chose not to, but he come flying in when the jacks were running at the jetties, and he just had his head up his butt. But the other ones, in my previous deal, I won. I mean, there wasn't no. If I was losing, I cheated, and
yeah, exactly.
Let's just be honest. I had escalation of force on my side.
Yeah.
Is that what y'all call it?
Yes, it's called escalation.
Proportional response.
Yes.
Yes.
Escalation of force.
So,
and it came down to that on a few occasions. It escalated all the way.
See, I don't yell often. If it's somebody I know, I'll call them, text them, see them at the dock, and very calmly tell them they're an idiot, as polite as possible.
I generally just do the stare where you turn your head all the way as they're going. It
makes you feel better, don't it?
It does. I say a lot of stuff to myself, like if somebody's coming from over here, I just kind of go and just give them the stare. Though they know what you're doing. They know you're talking.
And if it's somebody I know, I pick up the phone and call them instantly. It's like, hey, dude. It's like,
if I'm being honest, when people get all worked up and lose their mind and start yelling, that immediately tells me that either they're a sociopath or they really don't have that much time on the water. Because if you haven't grown numb to this stuff, you ain't been out here enough.
That was another point I was going to make. If you can't tolerate that, you really need to find a new hobby, because it's the world we live in now, and it's not worth the trouble, man. I mean, just got to move on. What you're going to do is you're going to ruin your own day. You can yell at somebody. You're not going to change their life. You're not going to change their attitude. You're just going to piss yourself off. And then you're going to ruin your own day. So it's best to let them chase you around for like 14 miles and make a game out of it.
Let's have fun with it.
You're going to mess up the day for the people in your boat. Like my statement is, hey, y'all watch this idiot. And we figure out how to get a laugh out of it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Now,
The moral is to keep
there
your
is
boat
one other guide
full of
that,
gas.
like I said earlier, there was one guy that said I was fishing in his area. He's a fairly well-known fly fishing guide, and he does guiding in Florida. And I've heard the same stories regarding him about yelling at customers and didn't make the cast, and he's yelling at them and berating them and doing stuff like that. And I knew that going in, and me and the guy, we've been friends for 30 years, and when he gets mad at me for being in his spot and the place that he wanted to be, I just laugh and I tell him the same thing every time. I said, "Man, I did not see the sign. I mean, you got to post some signs, dude. I mean,
This is my area."
and it usually diffuses it, or he just gets mad and stomps off, and then we're buddies later.
One more thing here, and we got more to cover, but I wanted to really dig in on this because so many people are interested in it. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Oh, what about the kids? Because he's not a kid; he was a young man. But there is a certain amount of messaging here that people in Texas and Florida and everywhere. Dean, I'll start with you. That, like, if I were just getting in to the game, I'd be like, damn, I don't need that headache in my life. Are there really idiots like that out there? I just felt, you can say what you want about what the kid did, how much he did, if he tried to diffuse it. But that kid, the other thing I read, in a news story, he's not planning to fish, he said, for at least couple of months, because he's just kind of shook about it. Like it was just a bad thing all around, especially for younger fishermen.
He didn't try hard enough to diffuse it. I get that he was kind of a passive aggressive diffuser in that situation. But getting close enough to the boat to let somebody step on it, that was crazy. But for somebody for somebody that is, I mean, there's a lot of personalities out there. There is a lot. The thing about the guiding world, it is an ego driven choice of work, and you're competitive. You always want to beat the other guy. So there's a level of ego and that's out there. Mixing those personalities together can be volatile at times. And then if you cross paths with that type of personality, it can escalate to that point. I hope to think that is like 0.001% of the situations that are out there. Man, got the video, got on the internet. The world we live in nowadays, 0.001% becomes 100% as soon as it hits the airwaves. And then it exposes a lot of people. But I mean, I enjoy the ego-driven maniacs that I spend time with. I'm looking at two of them right now.
There's one other part of it that came out through all of this with all of his sponsors.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That'll show you how much ego he had, because he wasn't sponsored by most of these.
No,
he had them on his website as his big sponsors, and I think there was only one that came out and said, "Yeah, he was a sponsor. We were associated with him,
and they
we're
quit.
not anymore." The others all came out and said, "We don't even know who this guy is, basically."
Yeah.
And he was just grabbing their stuff and putting it on his website to make himself look good. There are a lot of guides out there like that. I know of several incidences of that where people will say, "Yeah, I'm a Mirror Lure Pro staff," and Mirror Lure don't know them from nobody. They're buying it.
They got the sticker though.
Yeah,
makes
it comes
official.
down to that. I mean, anybody can say anything, but truly being associated with these companies the way we are is a whole different level than just grabbing their logo and sticking it on your site.
This dude is a carbon copy of that fella that used a picture of your boat and said, "Got my boat ready to guide." And ironically enough, that guy was from Florida too.
He was.
Yeah. I'm scrolling through Facebook, and this dude's like, got my new Freedom in. I'm ready for trips. Call me, book me. And I looked at it. I was like,
My new Freedom General. Yeah.
and I screenshot it, sent it to Scott, and he's like, that's my boat. That's the ramp I was at. I remember taking that picture.
And then before we go too far off the cliff, shout out to my friends in Florida. Don't mean to disrespect your whole state. Do not mean to disrespect the guides in Florida.
I already texted.
I mean, I know some very, very well. Great people. Amazing. Worked hard for many, many years. And
those good ones over there will tell you how shitty the other ones are.
Of course.
I mean, go talk to Ed Zayak about the problems that he's run into out on the water with these.
That's why he works out in the gym every day so he can stay ripped to fight crime.
He's got to fight for his life out there.
I already texted C.A. Richardson and Ed Zayak and told both of them congratulations on moving up the ladder of how good a fishing guide you are in Florida.
Hey, and Mark Nichols as well. I haven't texted him. Have you texted him, Scott?
No, I hadn't talked to Mark. I've been out here at the ranch shooting photos since this thing started. So
the other thing, real quick, before we move on the sponsorships and everything, did you see the press release from Pathfinder? Because he's driving a Pathfinder boat.
Yeah.
They were like,
"Oh yeah,
God no,
we
have nothing to do with this guy. We don't want him to drive our boats. We don't want any of this." Like, God no. I mean, and that's the other thing. And I've told people this, and maybe I'm just a bad person, in this case, because a lot of times you kind of feel for the guy too, because you're like, he lost his bleep, and caught in the worst moment of his life. I mean, the lowest of lows or worst timing or whatever you want to call it. I didn't really feel that bad for him, man, because I know, number one, as we talked about, he's done this before. Number two, his buddies were like, get back on the boat, man. Like they've seen it 100 times, And number three, the complete fraud that he was, from the sponsorships to maybe even the license and everything else. Like, Caleb, I don't know how you felt about him, but I didn't feel sorry for him at all.
No, I don't feel sorry for him. You gotta control yourself a little bit. Again, if he spends 300 days on the water and he lost his mind that much about one little thing, he's full of shit. He don't spend 300 days on the water. That's a lie. He takes his buddies out fishing. He has a website. They say there's no such thing as negative press. Like, hey man, this guy's talking. He disliked my YouTube video. Oh, there's no such thing as negative press.
Sure
I would say there is.
Yes. I say that all the time. Just spell the name right. But I also qualify it like the vast majority of time. It's any press is good press. Not this time. Not this time by any stretch.
This dude has ate up 50 minutes of the #1 saltwater podcasting thing in the whole wide world, 300 days a year.
Yeah, at least 300 days a year. And
if anybody feels any sorry for him at all, just go back and catch that one section of the little clip before he gets on the kid's boat, where he's standing there stomping and he's got his fist in front of him and he's making this little, I don't know what, I mean, I've seen 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds do it when they don't get their way and they're stomping and got their little fist in front of them. And that's exactly what it reminded me of. If you got any little bit of worry about him, go back and watch that part of it and it'll go away real quick.
First thing I did was I checked to see if he was married and had any kids. And when I saw that he didn't, or at least that were reported, I'm like, well, screw him then. I would have felt bad for the wife and the kids. That's about the extent of it. But all right, so let's move on. A couple things here. One more thing, at least, before Scott. And by the way, yes, we have covered this in depth, but as you said, Caleb, people all over the country listen to the podcast, and you three guys are the best, greatest fishing charter captains on the planet. So they wanted to hear what you had to say.
This is the greatest saltwater fishing podcast on the planet, for the record.
Right. That's right.
We post 300 days a year.
Yeah, exactly. I dare you to challenge us on that. So Caleb, I want you to address something that we talked about last week. You were unavailable, and I want you to make sure you make it very, very clear, because there was a little bit, I'm not going to get into it, but there was a little bit of back and forth on the group page in terms of, running skinny and my whole thing. And you are one of the, the best, most active content creators that I know.
In the world.
In the world.
You're the greatest content creator in the world, but you really are. And my thing was, and I'm sure you went back and heard it and certainly heard about it. I started to worry as I saw more and more of these videos of guys just tearing crap up. And I'm like, man, content creators with one video can do more damage than that it would take a year to the environment and to the habitat. So I wanted you to address that and the fact that we give you a hard time, but there's a certain amount of difference there.
Yeah, I was about as aggravated as I could possibly be the other day. I had a water spigot freeze, like corrode up, and I'm messing with that. And then you send me a screenshot and it says Captain Caleb gets called out, and I couldn't have been more aggravated in my life. And I saw that.
You're welcome.
I saw that, and I was like, what did these idiots do on this podcast that I wasn't around for? So I went and watched it, and I thought that y'all covered it pretty stinking well. Yes, y'all talk about me running skinny and stuff. I am in mud. I am not on grass flats. When I go down south, when I'm in 9 Mile, Yarborough, all that, I want to make it very clear that I will troll all over those flats, but then I will go find an oil field cut to get up in. Even if it's not for Captain Caleb being super caring about the grass and stuff, which I am, but even if it's not, I don't want to break prop shafts and wear out props and all that kind of stuff. It's better for everybody. Now, you guys do give me a hard time about the things that I do, but y'all are giving me a hard time because I slide boats up onto the state of Louisiana and the state of Texas. Whenever I tear up grass, it's grass on the land.
And
Here's flat spot.
St. Augustine.
And here there's another interesting aspect. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, how one incident can turn into legendary. I haven't been around a manatee in 15 years. There were a couple of incidents that has lived. It has a life of its own. Caleb saw an otter one day, and now the otter is forever attached to Caleb.
Otter,
I don't know what the hell. What do we got on Scott? Nothing yet.
I did see the. Go ahead.
But John's point. Here's the thing: the dude arguing with me, and he and I had a side conversation the next day. Everything's fine. It's good. It's great. But the guy that was I ain't gonna call it coming at me, but he was a little bit maybe. He had the exact same damn point that John did, in that this doesn't need to be thought of as cool. This doesn't need to set the standard. And I feel like if you listen to us in context and more than one episode, that a million times we've talked about this stuff. And Scott's made the point, Caleb's up in the mud, but when he's down south, that's what I do. But your point of the guys making the videos just to show that they can and blast through that stuff isn't good. Did it sell some HPP props? Probably. I don't know. But it is a bad example. Just like what we always talk about with take a picture of your customer, hold the big, healthy, slimy fish instead of a pile of dead ones. These are examples, and people are that are in positions of I don't know what the word is, but
influence.
And people that are in the positions of influence, need to understand that. So the guy, he had a good point. It was an awkward way to attack it, particularly whenever I'm using a Dremel to cut a water hose off of a faucet that some idiot, when they built my house, plumbed the whole damn thing in copper. So every time I twist on it, I can hear my wall getting shorter because the copper pipe's kicking in there.
I talked to him while he was at Lowe's. He wasn't happy.
I wasn't in a good place.
And then I said, "Ooh, Caleb!" I was instigating.
Yeah,
they're dragging you, Caleb.
The point is, there are times when you just have to do the stuff that was in that video. I didn't even see that. And to tell y'all how much I pay attention to social media, I didn't even know about that video until somebody called me and like, "Hey, this guy's getting blasted on social media," and I saw a part of it. But if what you tear up now is a problem tomorrow, I'll give a big example of what happens when you do things like this. And again, don't do it. Take the long way around. It's not that big of a deal, and it's easier on your boat. But in Caltrap Lake, which is somewhere that I fish from time to time, there's this really windy thing that goes way back in a marsh. And there's this one wind that it makes a big U to the left, and it's probably going to cost you an extra 200 yards total to follow that U to the left. 2-3 years ago, there in that to cut that U in half was a spot about 10 feet wide and about 3 inches deep. And people started hitting that instead and just blasting through that. 2 years later, that spot is probably 30 or 40 yards wide and has changed the way the water flows through that whole system. Does that screw things up? Who knows? But when you're doing this, you are tearing stuff up. You're making a worse tomorrow for everyone else. So unless you absolutely have to do it, but if you don't, if you're just trying to make a video, nobody on Bite Me nor myself condone it.
Mhm.
And neither does Angler U, just to make that clear too.
Well, that's what, according to the post.
Dean.
Now Dean is instigating.
You're already you're fired up enough.
I'm not fired up. I'm saying that the guy arguing, in my opinion, his thoughts were very parallel with us. What pissed me off was the insinuation that they weren't.
Yeah.
And also that stupid ass water hose plumb with copper line outside my house. And I'll take it one step further. My wife has been on my butt to fix that for like 4 months, and I keep telling her there's no way to do it. And finally, I said, "I'm gonna take a Dremel," and I literally said to her, "You want to walk outside and watch this shit show? Everything's about to be tore up. This is gonna be terrible." And I walked out there and touched it with the Dremel, and it fell off in my hand. I was like, "Well, damn, we're not gonna tell her about this either. We're gonna sit out here for a little while." And I walked around the outside of the house and went to Lowe's, so she didn't even know I was gone because I'm out there fighting this thing that I told her couldn't be fixed.
Well, there you go. I also will say just a little sort of tidying up here for you guys. Dean, we've got some sawgrass rods coming your way. I was talking to Colin, I was texting with Collins today, so he's got some fly rods.
And for everybody else, we have shootouts, drift socks in stock and shipping daily. So we're and it is the windy season. It's coming up in conversation quite often on how to slow this thing down. So yeah, get your shootouts, message me. I'll send you the link or link it up. But yes, we have a new inventory in stock ready to ship.
And I want to get what Angler U's got going on tonight. I think it's my guy, Patrick, joining you tonight, Caleb. But I had a great conversation. I want to tell anybody who's listening to the podcast to go to the Bite Me YouTube channel, because I had a really good conversation with Chris over at Bates Reels about actually, and he had the reel and he was showing it, when you get it out of the box, everything you do, because tuning a reel can be such a frustrating thing and you just throw it to the side if you don't do it right. So he went step by step by step going through all that. So that was really cool. I would encourage people to check that out here on the YouTube channel. But what else you got?
Well, one of the things that makes a Bates a really cool reel is there's multiple adjustment points to it that other reels don't have. And I think that's why some people get them and like, man, I hate this thing, but it is something that you need to know how to do. Angler U, I released a video yesterday with Pat doing transition stuff, and I've gotten a lot of feedback that, hey man, I really like that video. That's the real stuff. It's not, hey, we're out here and we're captains and we're easily catching fish. It's like, hey, this is a grind, this is why, and this is how we caught some today. And so Pat, tonight, we're going to be talking about the spring transitions. I was really pumped up when I booked him because we had 2 foot of water come back in. The water's getting warmer. It's getting great. And then whatever the heck this is blew in and blew 2 feet of water right back out. It's freezing cold outside. But yeah, it's going to be a big show about transitions and stuff tonight. We're
all right. And then
Scott,
I don't know how much you can say or not say, but I've never seen a badger in Texas.
Really?
Not in person.
I've seen 3 during this contest. I had never seen one prior to this, and I've been on this ranch every time I've shot this, and never ran across a badger. Found their holes, all that stuff. Never actually ran up on one. And I'll be damned. The first day I was out here, I come driving around the corner, and Bill, who was here with me, he's never seen one. He's a biologist, and he's shot 12 of these contests, I think, and he's never seen one. And he's like, man, I really want to see one. And he's following me along, and I'm stopped in the middle of the road. He's ways behind me, and a badger had run across the road in front of me. And then the next day I was down in the bottoms riding around, and another one ran across the road. This one happened to be feeding out in the Sendero, and I got to sneak up on him. I got within 40, 50 yards.
It must be badger migration season.
Actually, I started reading up on them. You know how I get when I get into something. So I was reading up on them, and they cover typically the radio collar studies and stuff. 2,700 acres per badger is what they're ranked.
And we see them at the ranch down south near Zapata.
Yeah, there's a lot of them in South Texas.
Yeah,
I
where
don't-
you're at,
I
there's a
don't-
bunch.
I don't know what their range is. So what did you read? How far north is their range?
It's from Mexico
North
to
America?
Canada. Yeah,
Whoa.
Mexico to Canada. They don't go much past Central Texas to the east.
Yeah.
So they're like the hummingbirds. They go up to the Arctic in the summer, and then
I don't think
they go back to Mexico in the winter.
They got real short legs, Dean.
Yeah, you've seen one run. I don't think
Hey man,
they
you seen
go
them
very far.
hummingbirds? They got little
Yeah.
tiny wings.
Little bitty wings. Little bitty
They're way
wings.
faster though. But yeah,
All right.
It said,
Go ahead.
It said
Well,
that
now, the
on
ba-
the females, when they have their babies in the dens,
Mhm.
that they'll only cover about 3 to 5 acres. So I'm thinking maybe that's what I'm seeing is a female that's got babies somewhere, and
Mhm.
she's in the same area over and over again.
Need to put some
Hopefully I get
badger
some
food
better
out.
pictures.
Can you buy badger food on Amazon?
badger bait.
Badger bait. All right. What's this has been fun and very, very, very entertaining. So what
We
was
almost
Scott do?
talked fishing.
We almost talked. We did a little bit, didn't we? Kind of, sort of around it. Now let's talk fishing now about this weekend. If my eyes are not deceiving me, a little bit of southeast wind on Friday and Saturday coming in. Caleb, looks like you might get a little bit of reprieve here.
Yeah, might get a little bit of water back. I'm looking
Mhm.
at some low southeast through the week, and then some little bit of south southwest and a little bit of southeast. I don't know if it's going to come back in a jiffy. We're getting close to a full moon, so we can get a big time. I get some water back. But
Yeah.
In
but
a
yeah,
jiffy? How much is a jiffy?
Quick.
it's a jiffy.
It's the size of a hummingbird ear.
Yeah, so because for Scott and his company, because I don't care. I'll die on this hill. Saturday the wind looks pretty good, but that barometer looks terrible. That's
Oh,
a bad
no.
barometer over there, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll look at it.
Friday and Saturday's wind looks great. I've never looked at the barometer in my life, but
Mhm. And so Dean, catch us up real quick before we get out of here.
man, my area is great, man. My buddies that been out fishing. I've been kind of tied up in physical therapy doing my thing. I'm going to the doctor on Thursday, man, and we're gonna get a good idea about my progress. I'm getting really, really close to getting back out there. The forecast is amazing. The wind, it's normal for us. I mean, nothing over 15 at the most. Friday, Saturday looks great. Tide is up decent where all of the flats are open for, exploring, setting up beautiful long drifts. So, I mean, the next 5 days till Sunday looks like we got some wind cranking, but who can trust the forecast that far anyway? But, for the next 4 days, I mean, it looks very doable, man. The tide is up. If I wasn't doing this little roadie to the doctor and everything else going on, I might be testing my spine a little bit.
Anything to add, Scott? And guess who, by the way, is picking up their new Warrior this weekend? Probably.
Nice.
Dang.
Damn straight.
Everything was looking good. Port O'Connor, fishing was really good, and then we lost 3 feet of water, and it got cold. I mean, yesterday going out to the photo blind this morning, I guess it was 41 degrees. It's April, and it's supposed to be 41 degrees. So I don't know how cold it got back at the house in Port O'Connor, but it was chilly and the water went away, but it'll come right back. We're not in that period of time where you got to worry about it not warming back up. The heat's coming, and fishing will go right back to what it was.
Well, all right. Fun show. I think the message today is don't be a Brock. You guys have killed it as usual with your insight. I hope everybody has a great week, a great weekend. Catch them up. I might be seeing you out there, and we will talk to you next time.
You reckon if Brock watched Bite Me and realized he wasn't the greatest guy in the world, that would have saved him a little bit of crap on social media?